Don't you think you've seen enough?
Whether you agreed with what Lara said at the end of Tomb Raider 2 or not, there is no doubt about how you will feel at the end of Sabatu's version of this game. Sabatu's Tomb Raider 2 is a fan-made redesign of the 1997 classic, free to download on PC, and is challenging to say the least, with intricate levels that will test your patience and mental toughness, and will almost certainly make you feel like you have seen enough. Hi and welcome to my game review of Sabatu's Tomb Raider 2. If you've not heard of Sabatu or the TRLE, then first check out my other video where I explain what it is along with my review of Sabatu's TR1. But today I'm going to go into his Tomb Raider 2, what I loved about it and what I found really difficult and how it compares to the original. And just like before, I'm going to give you my 3 favourite levels, so there will be some spoilers. I've put my playthrough in the description as well as a chapter breakdown for this review, so if you want to skip ahead, feel free to do that. There are some major differences in this game. Sabatu has definitely pushed the boundaries and gone further from the original TR2 compared to his approach with his TR1, and it's certainly divided opinions amongst the Tomb Raider community. There are 11 levels in this game rather than 18. I think Sabatu had quality over quantity in mind, so he has combined some of the levels here. For example, there is only 1 offshore rig themed level and 2 underwater ship levels. I personally didn't mind this because I think too much time is spent in those dark and dreary levels in the original game. I know some fans were sad about Lara's home not being there. I totally understand the attachment to this tutorial level, but it is missing from Sabatu's game, and so is Home Sweet Home. However, in my opinion, the Dragon's Lair is such a short and relatively easy level. Sabatu's version is combined with floating islands to make a very memorable and epic final level, and that was enough for me. This game was incredibly hard at times, and I will elaborate on this later. Some other differences to the original were the appearance of the menu and inventory screen, which was now called Backpack. We had the option to start adventure, which I liked the sound of, and if you died, you were told you died. And unlike Sabatu's Tomb Raider 1, there is no death count, no warning of how many enemies will be there, and the clock has reverted back to showing in-game time rather than full screen time, thank goodness. Sabatu's TR1 was a work of art, so I had high expectations for his TR2, and he did not disappoint. Just like before, I could tell how much time and dedication had been put into these levels. Many elements from the original game were still there. The zipline in the Great Wall, the boat in Venice, the snowmobile in Tibetan foothills, the ladder in diving area. I thought his interpretation of Venice was outstanding. The attention to detail was spot on. The use of beautiful colours, textures and lighting continued throughout other levels, creating a different feel from the original. The shipwreck wasn't as dark and the catacombs weren't as bright. And here you can see us moving from the Italy levels in the day to the evening and arriving at the offshore rig at night. Also landing in Tibet in the day, by the time you're at the Barkang Monastery it's dusk and then the following level is set at night time. The level transitions were super smooth throughout the game. After placing the Seraph where it belongs, there was a significant improvement. Rather than the underwhelming little door that opens at the end of Barkang Monastery, the entire area became frozen over, which set a very different mood. Other elements from the original game weren't necessarily in the place you would expect. Icy Peaks was based on Tibetan foothills, but definitely gave me Golden Mask vibes as well, the Cold War level to be specific. The level based on Barkang Monastery went even further, with areas that were almost a copy and paste of Tomb Raider 3's Temple of Puna, and the tree canopy reminded me of the India levels, also from TR3. I'm sure these are textures from Tomb Raider 1 as well. And have the spiders from Temple of Xi'an made their way here too? In the Venice level, there were textures from Tomb Raider 3 again. The aviary looks similar to Tomb Raider 3's expansion, The Lost Artifact, specifically the level named It's a Madhouse. Some more levels that were combined were Catacombs of the Talion with Ice Palace, and what I can only describe as one of the most dreadful, miserable moments of this entire playthrough, Singing Depths. I'm so done with this level. I really want to stop. I hated so much about this, but mainly because I can't stand anxiety-inducing, claustrophobic underwater levels. I'd say this was like a combination of 40 Fathoms and Tomb Raider 3's Sleeping with the Fishes. There were also elements of Maria Doria in this level, and Living Quarters was thrown in as well. Why Sabatu? Why? The Maria Doria level itself was not upside down, which made sense when combined with the deck, and the very end of this level had us returning to the offshore rig, which was ingenious. Speaking of the rig, Lara arrived there on her own, so this wasn't a no weapons level, which I didn't mind considering you get your pistols back within 5 minutes in the original. I also preferred the atmosphere and background noise in this level. You arrived during a thunderstorm and it just had a completely different feel. I definitely preferred not hearing that constant alarm going off. The crash landing in Tibet was utilised as well. We were able to traverse the plane wreckage, which was a stroke of genius, and you even see Lara's parachute nearby. Again, I'm loving that attention to detail. Sabatu's imagination has no limits. I loved where the Seraph was hiding amongst sunken treasure that once belonged to the monks of Barkang Monastery, who seem to be absent from this game, or were they? Oh! They must have been hiding from Lara, which was a shame. Other moments that stunned me were the diver who got sucked into a propeller, another diver who got eaten by a shark, and just about every ambush from human enemies, who barely had any pickups. So unfair. And speaking of pickups, what is with the secrets in this game? They were so well hidden. Sometimes I thought I'd found one, but no, this was just a normal pickup. I rarely found all 3 in a level, but when I did, my goodness, you were rewarded. Sometimes there were areas for nothing but a secret. Other times you had to really think outside the box, or in my case, stumble across them by mistake. I only found this one because I spent half an hour looking for a lever, so me being dumb worked out for the best on this occasion. As well as peeking behind a curtain, there was a jump through a poster, various portals, and a water tunnel, I guess. I enjoyed these clever features. I also liked how Sabatu made the game his own, adding personal touches and showing his sense of humour. This obscure message had me puzzled. Originally I thought it was relating to the Fiamma Nera, but now I'm not so sure. It could be referencing another video game, so I will say that if upon first glance something doesn't quite make sense, it's probably a reference personal to Sabatu or an Easter egg for his friendship group. There were a few of these in the game. Now that ladder in the rig level was twice as long, but thank goodness Lara's continuous grunting noise on every other step was removed. Some sounds were added though. The use of AI was introduced to put sound bites or narration into some levels, which was super cool to hear.
Die already!
Although one time I did question Lara's accent. I think my favourite thing throughout this game though was the atmosphere. Sabatu has really thought about how he wants to make the player feel. Sometimes the suspense sent chills down my spine, or views and original pieces of music gave me tingles. Some examples that come to mind are the Frozen Grotto level. It was so dark, the music had me on edge, and there were many hair-raising moments when Yetis were close by. This was pure horror. Also, Singing Depths, whilst I appreciated the general background noise, which featured whale calls, as I made my way deeper into claustrophobic, dark tunnels in the middle of the night, all I could think about was what a lonely place it would be to die. No one could hear you scream. Tight spaces. Ugh. No, this music. No, horrible. On the other hand, I like Sabatu's use of doorways or corridors that gave you a glimpse of the next area, again with the music being perfectly placed to induce a feeling of wonderment. I loved how the statue in the monastery was framed by this door, and the view of the Buddha in the frozen grotto was artistic. The flickering lights here in the Emperor's tomb added to the uncertainty of what could happen next. A lot of hallways generally gave me an uneasy feeling, even if nothing was there. A few times you could see the end of the level right at the very start, or you could peek at later parts of the level, sometimes with items like keys, which made the objective clearer. I believe credit is due to Agent XP, who suggested this idea to Sabatu. When I didn't have a clue what I was doing though, I had to refer to Stephen's walkthrough. Thank you again, Stephen. And this happened on a few occasions. Let's not forget this game isn't easy. There were loads of jumps at strange angles, punishing timed runs. Plenty of traps we all love to hate, and Sabatu's favourite thing, boulders. There were just too many. You definitely have to be in the right mindset to play this game. It requires patience, mental grit, and a pretty good understanding of Lara's movements. There is one specific move that you absolutely need to know in order to progress, and that is the walk run jump. This isn't a move we are taught about in the original games, but it's basically where you can clear the distance of a running jump without actually having to do the full run up. It makes timed runs easier and is sometimes the only way to clear a jump if there's simply not enough room. Footi has done a great video explaining the Tomb Raider 2 movement mechanics, which I have linked in the description. So I'm going to talk about my 3 favourite levels now, but this really was a difficult decision. Therefore, I'm starting off with an honourable mention. It's clear this is an alternative dimension. I love what Sabatu has done with this level, combining floating islands with the Dragon's Lair. The sky, the trees and the vibrant red colours throughout Shangri-La are majestic. It has quite a different atmosphere to the start of the original floating islands, which absolutely horrified me as a kid. The distorted whispering noises as you see a levitating silhouette in the distance is the stuff of nightmares. Sabatu's version does not come without disturbing moments though. Knife throwers just waiting for you in the dark, skeletons with messages in blood, and those terrifying warriors just waiting to come out of dormancy. The background noise is pretty creepy as well. I enjoyed the platforming in this level, apart from one particularly difficult jump onto a ladder. I really liked the puzzles and I did have fun with the final boss battle once I found a safe spot to exploit. And who doesn't love the Skidoo soundtrack? That piece of music was nicely placed here. The tail end of the level is super cool, jumping through portals, dashing over collapsible tiles and slopes whilst trying to avoid lava, boulders and falling ceilings as the tomb starts to crumble. The camera shakes are a joke, but I loved the very end where you eventually arrive back where you began the game, at the Great Wall. A fantastic finale. Sabatu, rather annoyingly, does a great job with the very start of this opening level, by letting the player know at the earliest point possible what to expect from this game. This almost immediate death brilliantly prepares you for how difficult the game will become. You can also see the very end of the level at the start, and you just know it's not going to be an easy ride to get there. You don't have your shotgun with you yet, but just like the original levels, there were boulders, spike walls, flying discs, and those deadly rolling spindles. All of these traps were ramped up, of course, and you've got the addition of a timed fire run as well. The challenges are thrilling and you have to react or think about your next move very quickly. Most of the time you won't be successful on your first attempt. Loving the new ponytail, by the way. What I absolutely adored about this level though was the expansion of the actual wall itself. For a level that is called the Great Wall, the original game only provides us with a small part of it outside. I've always felt there should have been more, and Sabatu has improved this greatly. After playing his version, I was at last fulfilled. It had what the original level was lacking. It was beautifully redesigned, and every new area was fun to explore. There was a brilliant balance of being inside and outside as you traversed the wall, tower blocks and chasms. The sound of the whistling wind made me feel like I was exploring a vast and desolate space. I loved it. Oh, and don't make the same mistake as me here, ignoring this gap in the wall. I now know there's something rather interesting through there, if you throw a flare. So only just missing out on my number one spot is Sabatu's recreation of Temple of Xi'an. The original level is one both feared and enjoyed by many. It throws everything at you, and Sabatu definitely turned up the heat with his version. The atmosphere in Emperor's Tomb is unreal. There were many points where the music and lighting just gave me shivers, and well, if you don't like spiders, you'll encounter a cluster of them twice. This is a very creepy level, and most of the time you do feel pretty isolated. There are no humans, only their remains. As far as I can remember, there were no tigers, vultures or fish, just giant spiders, ghosts, and boulders, boulders, boulders. This maze was ridiculous. But even more challenging was this crazy jump sequence, which I'm not even ashamed to admit that the only way I got through it was by saving halfway whilst Lara was still in midair. Other threats to your life, of course, included spike walls and ceilings, lava, guillotine doors, blades, and falls from ladders or springboards. This level was difficult, but I still really enjoyed it, and what a cool finish, entering the portal to a parallel universe. I don't even know where to begin with this masterpiece. Some of you may not like that my number one is a level with more of a modern theme, but I am ready to justify my choice. Firstly, I have to think back to how Villa di Bartoli made me feel after, and I remember wanting to immediately play it all over again. You start off the level navigating the dank and gloomy underground canals of Venice, before you climb your way out and begin exploring Bartoli's territory during what seems like a peaceful Mediterranean summer evening. I love the contrast between the two areas. Everything is a bit too quiet though, and the level takes an eerie turn when dead bodies start appearing, and you come across an aquarium with some odd-looking fish. This level felt cursed. You also have the threat of tigers, although I never came face to face with any. Perhaps they were eaten by the T-Rex, which, thanks to my limited knowledge of the Italian language, I was prepared for. Of course, I wasn't always on the ball. There were plenty of jump scares, Bartoli's goons appearing from around the corner, and dogs attacking me in the dark. Many times throughout the level, I felt like there was a calm before the storm. There was a nice balance of highs and lows in terms of pacing. This dark room in particular had me on edge most of the time, with that creepy message that only appeared when you lit a flare and not when you turned the lights on. Oh, and of course you had to figure out how to do that without being electrocuted. Once you make your way to the rooftops, you get a full view of the cult leader's hideout, which has a recognisably hostile aspect. I think we know where Sabatu was going with this. On the other hand, you're also met with the glorious sight of a Venetian stained glass roof as we approach the second half of the level and dive into a heavily flooded opera house. The roof looked just as impressive from the inside. It was really cool to swim between balconies and under the stage before moving on to the next area after you managed to lift the stage curtain. Another cool part of the level was jumping through a poster which led to a walkway. Now I'm not sure if this was intentional, but it is reminiscent of one of my favourite films, The Shawshank Redemption. If you've never seen this movie before, you need to watch it, but I digress. The very end of the level gives us a clue to where the Seraph is hiding, and Lara's personal helicopter pilot takes us there. So much happened in this level, there was never a dull moment. I absolutely loved it, and it just has to be my favourite. Now, I know I've only just scratched the surface with Sabatu's work. I will definitely be playing more of his creations. I am very new to TRLE still, so if you have any suggestions for me, please feel free to leave a comment. I also put a poll out a few weeks ago asking what you'd like me to play and react to next, so it would be cool to get some more votes on that, but only if you want to. I also just wanted to give a big thank you to everyone who liked and commented on my previous review video. I really appreciate it. Some of you did mention about me not having many subscribers. You were wondering why that is. Now, I think the main reason is because I put an 18+ restriction on my reaction videos, and that massively affects my views. I put this restriction on because my reactions involve a lot of swearing. So I just don't want younger people coming across my videos. I only do this for fun. I'm not fussed about having loads of views. So I just have to trust the YouTube algorithm and hope that the audience who would suit my channel will eventually find me. Okay, so this is the end of my review video. I hope you've enjoyed watching it as much as I've enjoyed making it for you. And again, thank you so very much for watching. Look out for the next videos. You'll see me very soon. Take care.